Episode number 165.
The surprising thing is, even really successful businesses still often don't really know the challenges, the pain points, the demographics of their ideal customers.
Welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff, where we talk about life, dreams, social media, and business.
Well, hello and welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff. Folks, I'm fired up today because hopefully we're going to bring you some new customers. And I'm super pumped because we are bringing you our featured guest today, Anita Toth. Anita, are you ready to be real?
I sure am. Let's do this.
And Anita is known as the queen of customer attraction, as she helps businesses attract more of their ideal customers through what's called question-based attraction marketing, which is awesome. I like that. Using the three-step ideal customer attraction system, Anita is helping businesses land their customers, their customers using messages, getting the ideal customer the right message. And she's helping them attract more and more of their customers that they want and less of the ones we don't want. As we all know, that there's some of those customers we wish we could fire from the beginning. And she also helps them keep their current customers even longer, which is awesome because no one wants to lose customers. And her goal is to have marketing foster genuine connections between businesses and their customers. In other words, using marketing that empowers, respects, and feels good for everyone. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show today, Anita. How's your day going today?
It is going very well, and I know this interview is going to go well as well. So as well, I'm really excited.
The three wells, I like it.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious into this customer attraction system because obviously more and more businesses are looking to find the right kind of customers and their ideal customers. And if someone was to sit down today, one of our listeners, and try to plan out this process, what is the first step in the process? What is the first step they need to start taking to figure out who is your ideal customer?
It's actually a really simple one, and I like it because it takes all of just a few minutes to figure out. So I'm going to take you through the exact process that I do with my clients. The first thing I want you to do is think about the worst client or customer you've ever had. Think about the characteristics, not specific things they did, but characteristics. Let's say they didn't pay on time, they didn't respect you, they questioned everything you did. Just think about them for a second. And now just think about how you feel. And likely it feels pretty crappy. You might be upset, you might be getting angry, you might be disappointed. All right, so that is your nightmare customer or the customer you don't want.
Right.
Now what we do is flip it around and think about your ideal ones.
Got you.
So who are these people? What do you like about them? Probably the exact opposite of the ones that you just laid out when you were, thinking about your nightmare ones. So these are likely people who pay on time, who are respectful, who understand what you're doing and trust that you know what you're doing. They're not second guessing you.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is think of how you feel right now. Like when I think of my ideal clients, I feel good. I feel energized. I feel supported. I feel all sorts of really good feelings. That right there is a really good gauge of who your ideal customers are and who isn't.
Yes.
So if you're on a sales call, you want to make a quick judgment as to whether this person may or may not be good for you. Just think back to those characteristics of the people you don't want and your ideal customers. And if they land in the camp of, this is like a nightmare client or customer I had before, then it's best to just walk away, because those feelings you have are really, really strong indicators of what you want and what you don't.
So first visualize, let's just say, folks, your worst customer. And I can think of mine is someone that doesn't want to pay a lot for and wants everything and then wants to hit you up 24/7 for little things and not pay for it.
You've got it.
And then the ideal customer is someone that does respect that we know what we're doing and they pay their invoices on time and they give us some feedback along the way, but they're not sending us emails every day about changing strategies day to day. So then in the first conversation, if you're coming across and you see the worst customer, what's the best thing to say? Hey, you know what? This is just not a great fit. We're so busy, or we have a lot going on right now, and I'm sure you do too. But we just don't feel like this is probably the best fit at this point. Is that kind of how you would preface that?
Absolutely. And the other thing is, just because they're not a great customer for you doesn't mean that they're not for somebody else.
Sure.
So what I always do is refer them to other people who might be a better fit for them. And genuinely, this is not, pawning them off. Ooh, I don't want them, so I'll put them to my competitors.
Sure.
This is really saying, you know what? I don't think we're going to be a good fit. I don't think I can give you the best service that I love to give my customers.
Right.
So how about I refer you to, and then give them a couple of names. And I find that they actually are more appreciative of that than if you, and we've all done it, especially in the early days of our business, where you kind of take anybody on.
Yes.
Well, it's not a good fit for you. It's not a good fit for them. And everybody kind of feels crappy about the transaction. At least this way, the boundaries are clear. You know that you can now just go and attract those ideal customers you want, and that they can find someone who will really work well with them. So that's what I always do. A couple of referrals goes a long way.
Great point. That's a great point, folks, because rather than just leave the door cold, at least you try to help them, and even if it's not for you, and then maybe also someone that you referred the business to gets the client and is happy with it. So they're happy too. So it's a win-win. So my next question is the attraction, because we're all trying to find, where are these leads at, Anita? Where are these ideal customers at, my friend? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Twitter? Where are these people at that I want to get into my pipeline? And when you are looking at that, if someone's on the podcast thinking that exact question, where's the first step to start there?
It still goes right back to who your ideal. Yep. We're always going back to who this ideal customer of yours is. So now we have to build out some demographic data, right? So for myself, my ideal customers are typically between 35, 37, and 55 years old. I don't deal with millennials. I don't deal with anybody in really senior positions either. Right? So I know who my group is. And then you have to ask yourself, where do they congregate? So I have 2 young kids. They're all over Snapchat. I know that my ideal customers are not going to be on Snapchat. So I don't go there. They are primarily, for me, on LinkedIn and some on Facebook. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, if these are the places they congregate, are there groups, associations, or perhaps they follow certain gurus that you've talked and collected data over time? Start looking for them there. Start going to the fan pages, perhaps, of some of these gurus and seeing, are your folks there? And look to engage them in some sort of conversation. So you always, sorry, Travis, I just wanted to say this quickly. You always want to go where they are rather than where you necessarily want to be.
Got you. So first, find out what the maybe demographics are there. That would help you with your advertising campaigns, as well as just your own knowledge to know, who am I typically working with? Is it a 25-year-old? Is it an 18-year-old? Is it a 50-year-old? And I think, and just thinking at my business too, I think that's a pretty good demographic for most digital advertising services, marketing services, is probably a 35 to 55-year-old person.
Yes, it is.
Because usually the younger ones, they're kind of figuring things out, or maybe they're a little more progressive on the front end, and they're going to maybe do it on their own. And then as they get too old, then maybe they're like, you know what, we're retiring, man. We don't even need to do this anymore. But that sweet spot of 20 years right there, 35 to 55, is a big demo. So then say you found them on a group, like a LinkedIn group. What would be your next step if you found some really good contacts on a LinkedIn group?
Okay. What I do, reach out and always start the conversation with some sort of common ground. So if you're in a LinkedIn group, talk a little bit about the group, ask them questions about their experience in the group. How are they liking it? Or are they finding it useful? Are they finding what they need in that group? And from that, you can start a conversation back and forth and just gently move it away from the common ground to asking more specific questions about their business. And that is one of the easiest ways to do it because you already have something in common. And when people have something in common, then it's easier to start a conversation.
They're more likely to even respond to you, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm sure we've all been inundated with messages that aren't anything in common with us, and they just want our time and money. And so they're like, hey, let's just spam as many profiles as we can today and, send off 500 emails on LinkedIn per day that have no personalization to them, or also not. And for me, I just end up, not wanting to talk to those people personally, but if someone does say something like, hey, I see you're a new dad. How's how's fatherhood going for you? That's a lot more relatable. And also you can tell that they took some time to realize what I'm going through right now in my life, instead of, trying to sell me on, hey, you need to invest with me. You need to, buy this tool or app, and here's a free demo. It's a templated thing, right? I mean, is the key with your outreach to look and feel the most, authentic? I mean, instead of just sending off these spam messages?
I do. I think that is hugely important. And that's the attraction piece. You summed it up very well with what you just said. I'm a new dad. Somebody took the time to look at my profile, pull out some information about me, and connect with me on that. That shows that they are interested. That shows that they are a huge step up from, like you said, these people who spam 500 messages a day. I'm a nobody to them.
Right.
But if you take just a couple of minutes, it doesn't take much. You can just go to somebody's profile. You can read their summary. If there's not enough there, then go and see what they've been posting.
Right.
And make a comment about that. Like you're so right. That is the attraction piece, is that we're not pushing things onto people. We're actually getting information from them, bringing it to us, and then reflecting it back in the types of questions we ask, in the types of marketing that we put out there. And I think these conversations are a form of marketing as well. We never think that. We always think it's just ads or our landing pages, our website, but This is part of marketing too, right? When you get one of those spammy emails, what does it say to you automatically about that person and their values?
They don't give a crap about me, and they're trying to hit as many people as possible that day.
You've got it. So it's the same thing, right? That's a form of marketing. But I take 2 minutes. I realize you've just posted that you just became a father and things are a little overwhelming running a business and being a father. I could reach out and say to you, or even better, if you can, give them just a little tip of advice. Nothing over the top, but just something to say, hey, I've been there. You'll get through. You can do this.
Ooh,
especially
nice.
when it's something personal like that.
Right.
And that goes a huge way. Even if, let's say, they don't need your services.
Right.
But when they come across, let's say in that group that you are both a part of, when they see your posts, that good feeling is there. There's goodwill there. They might just say, I don't need your services, but hey, my friend over here does.
Absolutely. And at least you didn't come off like a spam bot. I mean, that's the most important thing, I think, in marketing, like you said, is if this is a new form of marketing, you need to be authentic.
You do.
And, for those that are spamming out there, I'm sure it does work still. Let's just be real. I'm sure these strategies still do work. If you email 5 million people, I mean, maybe you might get 5 responses. But the truth is, you might be better off sending 5 or 10 emails per day and doing it slower, and also getting a better relationship going on with these people, instead of just trying to spray and pray, or I would call it, or, just these tactics of a cold email, and the first thing I see is just all these links and things to do and this and that, and it's like, come on, man. So then my next question to you is, so say you're striking up a conversation, you got some good camaraderie going on with your possible new prospect or friend, and then the next step is asking them some questions about them and their business. Where do you go with that? How does that process work?
So it's the same thing, whether you're doing this on a small scale, one-to-one, or even a bigger scale, because part of what I do in this attraction marketing bit is you're going to send questions like this to your entire customer base. And it becomes a dialogue. It becomes a conversation. It's not a survey. So it's the same at the small scale as it is the big scale. You listen to what they say, and then your next question is based on that. Just like we're having a conversation here.
Right.
I mentioned something, and then that triggers a question for you. You ask that question of me, you get the response, and then you ask another question. So it's the same thing there. When you're having a conversation with someone online, you guys are typing back and forth. Let's say your business, like ours, is in marketing. Ask them specifically about how their marketing is going. Are they looking to increase their visibility? Is there somewhere, perhaps another platform, that they're interested in checking out? Whatever it is specific to your business, you just sort of gently guide the conversation there. And then they'll tell you, because you've already established a rapport. It is amazing. It still blows my mind, even after all this time, what people will share with you once you've established trust.
Right. So establishing trust is first.
It really is. It's all those things that you mentioned, not spammy. You're engaging with them. You're listening to them. You took the time to look at who they are and found some common ground and reached out. And once that trust comes, it's amazing how people will open up and say, yeah, I'm doing well over here, but I now have my sight set over on this platform because I'm really seeing a big shift. And this is now where my folks are going. Great. Then you ask them another question about it. Whatever it is, it's so hard to kind of come up with questions on the spot here because everybody's business is different, but you know the solution you have to their problem. So you gently just start moving the conversation that way.
That's so interesting. It's very true. So then my question is to you is, what made you start to get into this business? What gave you the insight to become the queen of customer attraction?
A government layoff.
Thanks to the government. Thanks to the government.
I worked at a university for 14 years in a research institute. And this is what we did. We asked, it's called qualitative research methods. If people want to know, it's been around for decades and decades. Essentially, it's asking people questions, then you get the answers, then you ask them more questions, then you get the answers. You might also know it as a survey. Well, I just took the skill that we used in the Institute and just changed it a little to put it into the business world and make it successful here. Because the surprising thing is, even really successful businesses still often don't really know the challenges, the pain points, the demographics of their ideal customers. And these are businesses that are pulling in 7 and 8 figures.
Right.
I'm not just talking, a 5-figure business is just starting out.
Right.
They've happened upon, a particular group, and they've solved a problem, but it's remarkable how much they don't know. So by continually asking, because humans change, our culture changes, everything changes. You can't send out a survey or something like that once a year and expect it to, give you accurate data 6, 8, 9 months later. So this is what I did. And it was really in taking all these skills and a few nightmare clients in a row that made me go, wait a minute here. I can take what I did at the university there, bring it to the business world, and use this to attract ideal customers, because it's awful. When you have a lot of nightmare customers and you're not fulfilled and they're not fulfilled, you really start questioning whether you want to be in business anyway.
Why am I doing this?
You got it.
We all got one life, so we got to figure it out. If you're not happy at what you're doing, obviously a job or work is not always fun, but you gotta love the passion behind it. You gotta enjoy working with the people you're working with as a business owner. Because like you said, you can lose your passion for starting the business as fast as you started it. You could be like, I'm done with this thing, man. These customers are nuts. So then my next question to you, as we're going through this question and answer process here, is there a certain amount of outreach that you try to do weekly, daily?
I do.
Yeah.
I practice what I preach here.
Is there a certain amount of goals you hit, like a goal, like I got to reach out to 10 or 5 people a day? Or
I do. So it's 10 people a day for me.
Oh,
and
nice.
It is the exact same process. I use LinkedIn only. And what I do is, some people know this, some people don't. LinkedIn has some pretty good search functions, especially if you're looking for geography, a certain region, or job titles. And then you can pay for something like Sales Navigator, which I have, which is a premium LinkedIn product.
Yep.
Once you get into there, there's all sorts of filters that you can go through. And I did it today, created a new search, got 80 results. Then I looked to see, and one of the great filters on there is who has posted or had activity in the last 30 days.
Oh, that's
because a lot of people create LinkedIn profiles and then they hardly ever check it, don't do anything. I want somebody who's going to see my connection request and act on it fairly quickly so we can get this conversation going. So that's what I do. Will
you connect to them first and then you'll start the conversation, or?
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, will you connect to the new, let's say, prospect or ideal customer first, like try to connect with them first, and then once they accept, then you start the conversation?
I generally try to, because with, again, even Sales Navigator is a premium service. You only get a certain number of, they're called in-mail requests.
Yes.
Where you're not connected with the person. And I think it's like only 25, and then you need to pay more money.
Right.
So I'll give you a little secret. This has been my thing that has really helped a lot on LinkedIn. Have a killer profile.
Oh, yeah.
Focused on your ideal customers' desires, wants, needs, problems. Put that there, because I have found that, and I don't put a special message all the time. I do sometimes and I don't. I'm still testing this out. But when I haven't, I found a lot of people went to my profile, looked at it, liked what they saw, then they connected with me. Then I start the conversation.
Got you.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a good place to put it? Like in obviously summary, the headline?
All of it. Use as much real estate as you can, because first impressions are everything. Professional photo, please.
Right.
Make sure it's a professional photo, or a really, really good one of yourself, not partying, not with your dog. I've seen all kinds. And then, your headline, make it something about them and about what you do to help them. And I have found that people really respond to that. So that's all I do. And I have really noticed that my connection rates have really gone up since I really tightened up my profile.
Got you. So get your profile right, folks, before you start going out there and interacting. I'm even thinking myself, I need to refresh what I got going on there. I try to keep it going, but it's nothing wrong with keeping it fresh. So I'm interested in that. So look at your profile and really put in where you feel like your ideal customer, what kind of problems they're having, and also maybe how you're helping solve those problems and work with them. And then using the amazing capabilities of the search to really get in there and try to find some new people to connect to. Obviously, sometimes it does help if you have like a second degree connection where you have some mutual friends. I've connected to some big people just because I have a mutual friend with them. But even to be honest with you, some of these people I have not reached out to, like Mark Benioff from Salesforce. I'm connected to him. I'm connected to Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm connected to a lot of these guys that, we have social friends, but I haven't reached out to them, because I'm maybe a little scared. Maybe I don't know exactly how I'm going to help them, to be honest with you. I think probably most likely they're already handling their social media. So it's almost like, well, why do I reach out to them? The only thing I'd like to is maybe get them on the podcast. So I'm very interested I'm going to continue to try to use LinkedIn to get some of these big guests on the show. That's how I've started the show when I did 3 years ago, as I went to Twitter and I started finding people that I wanted to interview and reach out to them and said, hey, I'm starting a podcast about social media. We'd love to have you on the show, and start getting some influencers on there, and now it's built bigger. The numbers are bigger, we're on number 159 or 160 something now, but I still have goals to get bigger people, and I think LinkedIn is the one to try to get these people. So I'm trying to think of right now, what question would I ask Mark Benioff from Salesforce?
Yeah, I can I just tell you that what you did right there was absolutely brilliant. First of all, you identified what it was that's been holding you back. Fear. It is for all of us. We all have it.
Yep.
And then you just figured out what you need to do to solve that problem. Yeah. And to get them on the podcast would be amazing. Gary Vaynerchuk especially is all about LinkedIn right now, all about organic and LinkedIn and LinkedIn and LinkedIn. Perfect time to reach out. And the other thing is that, and I do this, and again, you can keep a spreadsheet, however you want to do it. Track people who you really want to go after, because it might take numerous different touch points, as they say, before they respond. Gotcha. They're really busy people.
Right.
And so again, go through, dig, look at what they're posting, look at what their summary says, and find that one thing that you think might just catch their eye and go, oh, whoa. Because I'm sure these people get tons of requests to be interviewed. So how could you take it to the next level? And the best way to do that, honestly, is look at something they've recently posted and tie that in.
Yes, I agree. I'm liking that because we do a lot of Google Drive. Shout out to Google and Excel, obviously. Putting together a target list of big guests that we admire. I mean, a few months ago, I was watching an interview with Kai-Fu Lee. He was the CEO of Google China. He's written a huge book called AI Superpowers. He's got a huge, investment fund and owns all these different startups and is very successful. And I didn't have a lot of mutual friends with him or anything like that. I just cold reached out to him, and it was because I loved his interview that he had on the show. I said I'd love to have him on the show. I'd love to find a way to get you on the show to talk about the AI superpowers, and it was like only a few days later I got him on the show. It was like I had to fit him in my schedule, because truthfully, he's a busy guy, like you said. So he was like, hey, I'm on the press tour right now, interviewing as many times as I can to, basically promote the book. And can you do it on the weekend? And it was like a weekend at like 3:00 in the afternoon. And we did it. And like he tweeted it out to millions of followers, So I know it can happen. The truth is, I know for myself, I just get kind of fearful of like, all right, more rejection. It is kind of easier to go with guests that you can get on the show. We also have like podcast bookers and things like that are booking their guests with us. But my biggest truth is I want to continue to have this show evolve. So I think I need to put together a Google Drive. I'm just talking through this here. A Google Drive with some of my top connections on LinkedIn, and then find a piece of content, find something we can really bring them on the show to talk about based on what their latest activity or what their latest message is in the world. And I'm inspired. I'm like, yes, I got to do this now.
I love it. What's interesting? What is so great about what you just did is that is the process that happens when I start asking questions of my clients as well. All of a sudden, doors that seemed closed suddenly open up, and the possibility is there. And I can hear the enthusiasm in your voice. Like, that is so exciting to me.
Thank you.
That you have just gotten excited about what you can do.
Yeah, no, I am. I mean, obviously I like to grow my business, but I'm just thinking about for the show, let's try to do this for the show. Let's find ways to figure out some of my top connections on LinkedIn and on Twitter and get them on the show. Find any way we can possible. Let's see what we can do. But now we're about to take you to our top 10. Anita, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Apple or Android?
Android.
Netflix or YouTube?
Oh,
Both are
Netflix.
good. Netflix and chill. Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Chicken, steak, or fish?
Steak.
Steak. Laptop or iPhone? Or Android, I
Laptop.
guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it's got to be a laptop.
Spotify or Pandora?
Spotify.
Movies or video games?
Movies.
Reading books or listening to books?
Ooh, reading.
Nice. Stocks or real estate?
Ooh, stocks.
Stocks. You have a favorite stock?
I did, and it did very well just recently because Canada here is now legalized cannabis across the country, and I got it actually trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange as weed.
Oh, wow. Weed.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I know that one. I'm trying to think which one is, because there's so many different ones out there.
Yeah, Canopy Growth Corporation.
Canopy. Oh, yes. I own Canopy. I love Canopy.
Yeah.
They're now also 30%, I think, is owned by Constellation Brands, which owns Corona and Modelo. And yeah, Constellation is a huge wine and beverage, alcoholic beverage brand. And I think they own about 30% of Canopy they bought in last year. Canopy is going to be a big one. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yes. Yeah.
That's going to be a big one. Oceans or lakes?
Lakes.
Nice. Okay. A few more follow-up questions here.
Mm-hmm.
When you wake up in the morning, what is one of your biggest passions right now?
When I wake up in the morning, it's actually, I read. First thing, I have a book of inspiration. That's what I do. Yep. I wake up and I'm half awake, half asleep. And I figure put those positive thoughts in my head right away.
Do you have a certain time, or do you just get to certain pages that you like to get to, or?
I actually set a timer, 10 minutes.
Nice. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Yeah. There's something about when you first wake up, not going right into emails and notifications on social media, and I've been trying to do where I do some sort of activity. I personally love to go work out at the gym, but I have an 89-day-old girl here, so I'm not able to do that as much. So, like a 7-minute app, which is a 7-minute workout on your phone you can do, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, those kind of fun things. Do some journaling where you're putting out what you're grateful for the day. And then lastly, I picked up one recently from the book, The Compound Effect, where you just send love to somebody. You're just physically sending, thinking about someone, sending your love, your thoughts, your gratitude, you're grateful for their relationship. And obviously you're not physically telling them this, you're just kind of sending your energy. So it's really interesting to do. It's a newer thing that I've been doing. Just he does it when the second you wake up, you hit your sleep alarm. Your snooze. That 8 minutes that you have there on your snooze, you do these things in bed. You kind of start thinking about who you're grateful for, what you're grateful for, send love. And then, actually, the last thing he does is one thing that you want to accomplish today, one major thing, because I know I'm guilty of this too, is that I pack my days full. I mean, I got a to-do list. I always love to keep it updated, but sometimes it's just that one thing that you need to get done to really move the ball. So I just think it's really interesting how everyone's got different perspectives on it, but that's awesome. Shout out to you for reading those words of wisdom and using that 10 minutes wisely. And then also, after a long day, what is one of your favorite meals?
Oh, one of my favorite meals. Oh, there's so many of them. I just actually made the other day, and I really liked it. It was for the first time, and from scratch, Swedish meatball soup.
Oh, wow. Shout out to you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really great. And it's going to be one of these that we're going to eat fairly regularly. Weather's not really conducive to it, but come fall, the kids loved it. I really liked it. It was fairly easy to make.
Right.
You can make the meatballs ahead of time. Perfect meal.
You can meal prep it out maybe for a few meals, so you have a couple meals there maybe possibly. This year, is there a new skill that you're wanting to master this year? Is there something you're pushing yourself to get over the hump on?
I am actually. I'm in a course right now. It's a beta course around writing viral or blockbuster articles.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. It's really intense. It's not what I thought it was going to be. I have a lot of publications from my university days, and I've had to unlearn most of my my skills there, and now I'm trying to relearn it for virality for, a blockbuster hit article.
Yes. And I remember we had a guest talking about news jacking, which is basically a strategy where you're taking the current news and you're jacking it and you're putting in your business or brand and kind of like intertwining those. It's a pretty fast way to get virality. I mean, you can just basically find any topic that's going on right now that's big and kind of weave in your brand some way. Very interesting. I mean, I don't know how it's done appropriately in all situations, but I think it's very interesting how the power of writing and telling a story it really can get you viral.
Absolutely. And comes down to the same thing as with your ideal customers. You've got to get the data. You've got to do some research. And that's the same thing. We're asking questions of each other, getting responses. It's essentially research. So whether it's for your social media, your LinkedIn page, like we talked about, that summary, do the research, find out what people want and give it to them. And if they're talking about things in the news and your brand fits really well with that, absolutely jump all over it, because that's a wonderful opportunity to get out in a way that you might not be able to otherwise.
Right. Yeah. And people will see those headlines and then all of a sudden sometimes it's like, when you read the headline, it doesn't necessarily mean that's what the story's about. A lot of times people write headlines that when you click on the story, you're like, did that have anything to do with the headline? It's kind of funny, but that's the new world we live in. So, do you have a favorite app or a tool that you like using on a daily basis?
Airtable.
Ooh, I've heard about this one. Yes, I've heard great things about this one. Why do you love Airtable?
I love Airtable. I'm not a real surprise. Even though I gather a lot of data and do research, I'm not an actual numbers person. So Airtable is Excel meets database.
Yes.
It's simple to use. It's in the cloud. I can share it with my team. So I can just, and it updates in real time. So if there's a comment I need to make, there's no email sending. It sits with that particular bit of information, and they can refer to it at any time. And I love it. And it's free.
Airtable.
It's free to use. Airtable.
I got to check this one out. Yeah, I've heard lots of good things about Airtable.
It is amazing. Yeah.
And it's free, which is awesome because there's so many expensive tools out there that are you wonder if they're so useful. When you're paying $300 to $500 a month, you have to say, am I really getting the full maximum value out of this thing? So be real today for lunch or dinner, a steak dinner, because you love steak. If you could have steak with anyone in the world, who would it be?
Oh my goodness. I have so many. It's always so tough. I'm like a little kid. I feel like I'm at a buffet looking over the desserts and
who am I going to
and who would it be? Actually, there's a woman named Esther Hicks. Yes. Now, she's all about mindset, little different. And some people, it's not mainstream, but she's got some really interesting stuff around attraction. And that's part of where I got the customer attraction bit. Attracting what we want. You've got it. Law of attraction.
Law of attraction. Abraham Hicks.
You've got it. Yeah. Oh, so it's Esther. Yeah, Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks.
Yeah.
Lots of videos on YouTube if you want to check them out there. Yes. Amazing. Took a little bit for me to get over the hump of understanding, but once I understood what she is, essentially like a medium.
Right.
It's the message. Wow.
Yeah.
It has made a world of difference in my life.
I remember I picked that book up because it was like a book that like my wife had gotten or something. And I just like picked it up and I was just fascinated by, the law of attraction. I think it's just a fascinating book. Anyone that hasn't read it, something I would suggest. It's not a long book, but it's definitely a packed full book. And like you said, she's a medium to a whole nother world of energy and positivity. And also that we attract the things we think about and the things we dwell on. And it's just amazing. The power of the mind is the truth, is the amazing thing about that book. So then after a long day, you've worked a long day. Do you have a favorite show or favorite thing to do with the fam at night?
Yeah. So I'm not a huge fan of actually watching things. I read. I really, really like to read. So even though my kids are older, they're 10 and 12, we still sit and read.
Oh,
I still read to them. Because it's a nice wind down. We get to talk about things. Sometimes we read nonfiction, sometimes we read fiction. I really find that reading there's something about it and how the words kind of sink in, and it just slows you down. So it still comes back to reading. I have a big pile of books and I'm excited to get into them. I wish I had more time so I could read them all right away, but reading in the morning, reading at night.
That's awesome. Reading with the fam too. I think that's really cool. A good routine to have with them.
You've got it. And I'll tell you, 89 days is not too early to start.
I've been reading lately. We got Rocket Science for Babies. We got the Lookbook. Nothing too long, but mostly stuff. We've been getting right into it. I love reading, and singing, talk, read, sing. We've been doing it all. I've been telling my little girl about this big world we live in here.
I love it.
Do you have one last real talk thought that you can share with our listeners?
I think it's what you said in the beginning about being authentic and just really taking those few minutes to reach out to someone to make a genuine connection. That's where you respect the person, you empower them, you empower the conversation. That is it. Be authentic and be genuine. That's it more than anything else. And if you don't know how, because some of us don't, then you got YouTube, you've got Google. Start finding out how to do it, because it will make a massive difference between your business now and the business that you could have if you start being authentic and making those genuine connections.
That's awesome, Anita. Can you also give our listeners, where is your favorite place to hang out? I think you said IG, LinkedIn.
I'm on LinkedIn, yeah. And so you can find me there. Either type in the Queen of Customer Attraction or Anita Toth. And I have a website, Anita Toth, and it's .ca because I am in Canada. I have a counterpart over in Hungary who has .com. So it's Anita Toth. Yeah, if you land on an organic product site, that's not it. AnitaToth.ca.
.ca, and we'll put that in the show notes. Folks, you've been hanging out with Anita Toth and Travis Too Tall and Huff. I want to thank you again for your time today, and let's keep being real. What another epic episode. And if you enjoyed the episode today, can you please do me a favor and subscribe to our podcast, The Be Real Show, on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform, and also take a little time today, if you don't mind, and give your boy T Huff a review. I would really super appreciate it, and thank you so much for listening today.